This is a real headline, folks. Hospital tells family brain-dead Georgia woman must carry fetus to birth because of abortion ban. Here's another one. Georgia hospital keeps brain-dead pregnant woman alive due to abortion ban. These are real headlines, ladies and gentlemen, and this outrageous scenario and disgusting moment has been given to us courtesy of Georgia Republicans. But if we really want to trace this back, then we have to give the ultra-conservative justices of the Supreme Court their flowers, because this is what happens when you overturn decades of precedent in Roe v. Wade and you force the United States to look like a patchwork quilt of inconsistent and different abortion laws, depending upon the state that you are fortunate or maybe unfortunate to live in. But you gotta meet Adriana Smith. And sadly, the only way I'm going to be able to introduce her to you is through the memories that her family have. So let's go back in time a little bit to February of 2025. This is Adriana. At the time, 30 years old, the mother of a beautiful 7-year-old little boy. That's who you see in the picture. And the loving daughter of April Newkirk. She has a longtime partner, boyfriend. She was working as a dedicated registered nurse. I mean, my mom is a nurse, so I know what it's like for nurses and their capacity and what they do. And so you can imagine the kind of person that Adriana was. And sadly, I have to use the past tense, was, for the following reason. In February of 2025, Adriana, who was 9 weeks pregnant at the time, started suffering from intensely painful headaches. They were so bad that she went to the hospital. But here's the thing. She went to 2 different hospitals, and each of these hospitals dismissed the severity of her complaints, and they sent her home with some medication. Listen to her mother here when she describes to you how her daughter was failed by the medical system. Take a listen.
April Newkirk says her daughter went to Northside Hospital for help.
They gave us some medication, but they didn't do any tests. They didn't do any CT scans. If they did, they would have caught it.
So it's worth noting here, and it's important for us to talk about maternal mortality rates for Black women and the fact that it's disturbingly high. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, in 2023 had the following statistic. Black women had a mortality rate of 50.3 deaths per 100,000 live births, and that's in 2023. So stop for a second and think about that number. 50.3 deaths per 100,000 live births. And that's more than 3 times the rate for white women. It's also higher than the rates for Hispanic and Asian women. Remember, Adriana was a registered nurse. She knew the medical system. She knew to be an advocate for herself. And even with that knowledge, 2 separate hospitals send her home with medication and they don't do anything for her. They don't do a CT scan. They don't do any type of follow-up with her. And then here's where it all went off the rails. Adriana wakes up. She's gasping for air, according to her boyfriend. He rushes her to the hospital. When she gets to the hospital, they are unable to get her to respond. And according to Adriana's mother, April Newkirk, she ends up saying that her daughter is pronounced brain dead. I want you to take a second and think about how in the span of about 48 hours, this poor girl's life changed 100%. And again, you're asking for help, you're going for help, and you're pregnant, and this is what ends up happening. So she's rendered brain dead, legally declared brain dead, and she's put on life support. So now here's when you would think that her mother would be able to decide, as her next of kin, basically, what to do with Adriana moving forward. And the hospital says, nope, we're not going to take her off of life support, even if you want us to. We're going to keep her on life support because we want to be able to get her to the point where her fetus is able to be delivered. Her fetus is able to be delivered. So she's legally dead. She's brain dead. Adriana is on life support, and they're just keeping her alive so she can serve as a human incubator. Is it disgusting? It should be, because it is disgusting. So while this is happening, according to her mom, April is dealing with the fact that Adriana's young son, who's only 7 years old, he thinks his mom's asleep. He has no idea what's happening to his mom. And now Adriana is still pregnant, and now she's just being used as a vessel to ensure the delivery of that fetus, at 32 weeks. Why is all of this happening? It's happening because of Georgia's draconian 6-week heartbeat abortion law. The hospital claims that it has to be in compliance with Georgia laws, so it will not remove Adriana from life support. Instead, the staff is just going to continue to maintain her body with no brain activity as a baby incubator until the fetus reaches viability, which according to medical professionals is about 32 weeks. So let's do the math together. Adriana legally dead, now 21 weeks pregnant as of this conversation that we're having right now. She's going to be on life support for almost another 3 months. And April, Adriana's mom, then finds out from the doctors that Adriana's fetus has fluid on the brain. Hydrocephalus is what the term is. And once the baby is born, assuming that the baby even survives the delivery process, it may have serious brain damage and suffer from lifelong disabilities. So April wonders if she now has a second grandchild coming, a boy, and whether this grandson's going to be born blind or not be able to walk at all. Listen to how she describes it.
A situation she says no one should be forced into.
It should have been left up to the family, because I'm in my 50s, her dad is in his 50s, so we're going to have the responsibility with her partner to raise her sons, you know? And I'm not saying that we would have chose to terminate her pregnancy. What I'm saying is we should have had a choice. We should have had a choice.
To compound all of the issues that are going on here, April says, look, who's going to care for this child? First of all, she has her 7-year-old son, Adriana's 7-year-old son, but who's going to care for this new baby who may have all of these medical problems, who, if he survives, is going to need medical care, intense medical care for what's left of his life? Who's going to take care of this kid? And listen, who's paying for all of this? In addition to all of this emotional trauma, now you have to figure out who's going to be facing and handling the medical expenses. So right now, we haven't heard that the state of Georgia is stepping up to be able to pay for all of the medical expenses for Adriana's care. In fact, according to April Newkirk, Adriana's mom, the family is going to have to be paying for this. So again, you've got a brain dead daughter who is pregnant, and she's being maintained on life support that you're having to pay for as the family. Who's going to take care of the 7-year-old son? Who's going to pay for his care? Who's going to take care of him? Who's going to pay for the cost of that second child with those child's extra medical expenses? It is a slap in the face. It is the death of dignity for Adriana and her family. Georgia has a fetal heartbeat law known as the Life Act. I know the irony abounds. It's the Living Infants Fairness and Equality Act, and it bans abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy. And that's when cardiac electrical activity usually can be detected in fetus. And so that's the reason why they call it a heartbeat law. Of course, the absurdity of this law is the reality. Most women don't even know that they're pregnant at 6 weeks. And as for exceptions, there are very limited exceptions to being able to get an abortion in Georgia after 6 weeks of pregnancy. 1, if the mother's life or health is at risk, or 2 or 3, really, if there's rape or incest. But a police report has to be filed, and that's a whole other conversation. But in this case of Adriana Smith, none of those exceptions applies. Georgia's Life Act also goes a step farther, and this is important to talk about. This abortion law bestows personhood to embryos and fetuses. What does that mean? That means that this law gives fetuses legal rights just as much as you and I would have after being born. They actually call fetuses, quote, members of the species Homo sapiens. So consider that for a second. A fetus or an embryo in the state of Georgia is considered to have just as many rights as a child that has already been born. And some legal experts are thinking that the reason why the hospital continues to put Adriana and keep her on life support is because she is brain dead, so she's dead, but her fetus is considered to be a separate person, and it has just as many legal rights as she used to have when she was alive. And so under that fetal heartbeat law, they have to keep that fetus alive. And anti-abortion supporters, they say, oh, look, you know what? The 14th Amendment due process and equal protection clauses, that's the reason why a fetus and an embryo actually has just as many rights. But consider the language from the Life Act itself. Here you go. The state of Georgia recognizes the benefits of providing full legal recognition to an unborn child above the minimum requirements of federal law. Thank you, Dobbs, right? And here you go. It shall be the policy of the state of Georgia to recognize unborn children as natural persons. So, putting aside how Republicans, they're obsessed with control and forcing women to be walking wombs in order to be able to give birth. But once that kid is born, they're like, you know what? We're going to say peace out to the land of responsibility, and we're not going to do anything affirmative to make sure that there's support provided to the mothers and the children. There's no childcare, there's no money, there's no infrastructure that's given to these mothers and to these children. Republicans for a long time, they've viewed women's bodies as vessels or merely incubators designed solely to be able to carry children. And the goal has always been to exert maximum control over our bodies. It has nothing to do with the babies. It has nothing to do with the babies. It's not like they take the babies and they do anything with the babies themselves. It's not like they're taking money out of their own pocketbooks to be able to help care for forced birth children. I need you to listen to Adriana's mother when she explains what it feels like to go and see her daughter, Adriana, lying there on life support, brain dead and pregnant with her grandchild. Take a listen.
It's torture for me. I come here and I see my daughter breathing by the ventilator, but she's not there. And I'm touching her. And she has a son who I bring to see her.
April Newkirk says that she should have been given the choice to decide what to do with her daughter, Adriana. Instead, what you just heard is what this woman has to experience for how long? At least another, 3 more months that you have to watch your daughter be that way. And you've already lost her in a very sudden and tragic way. And now not only does Adriana not have her dignity, but in many ways, you don't have the dignity and the autonomy left to decide what to do, what's right for your family and your daughter. And it's because of whom? Total strangers, mainly men, white men, have decided that their opinion about what a political position must be, that's more important than your ability to exercise control over not only your own body, but your ability to choose how to say goodbye to your own child. It is outrageous. And that's why I always say to you guys, be mad, be outraged, and demand accountability, because this is just the beginning, folks. This is not just The Handmaid's Tale. This is our real dystopian hellscape that we are living in right now. And be prepared for more cases like this to have to show up. And sadly and tragically for us to have more Adriana Smiths. Katie Phang here. The truth matters now more than ever. So hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. Thanks for watching.